Hey there, everybody. Welcome to your readings for the week. These are the readings for the week ending September 24th. We are almost through September already. To be honest with you, I think we're recording horoscopes and readings every week because I do things the week before, or in some cases with the horoscopes a couple of weeks beforehand. Just it makes it feel like the time is flying by even more than it normally is. So but I think it is flying by, and that's kind of cool actually, because the beginning of this year didn't really seem like it was flying by. It seemed like it was dragging on forever because this year's been a little bit difficult. If you've been having difficulties this year, you are not alone. Okay, I think everybody is facing a world that doesn't make as much sense as the world a couple of years ago was. So don't feel bad, and don't feel like it's all your fault either, okay? Because I think a lot of us have a tendency to beat ourselves up over things that are out of our control, and there's just a lot of things in this world right now that are happening that are out of our control. So you don't want to spend too much time, obviously, focused on that. Take care of the things that you do have control over. That's where we get screwed up anyways. Focusing on what we can't control and not taking care of what we can. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and get to our readings for this week because we have a lot going on. We continue to have Mercury in retrograde. It starts off this week in Libra. By the end of the week, it's moved into Virgo because it is technically a Virgo retrograde. And I've been doing the 13 card readings for next year. So, of course, I'm already looking ahead to what's happening astrologically next year. And we have four, I should say, Earth sign Mercury retrogrades again next year, which I am not happy about, to be honest with you. The earth signs are the signs that really get their hands dirty, and they really are responsible for getting things done. And when Mercury is retrograde in all the earth signs, it kind of feels like anything getting done that's slowing the progress down on that. And the fact that you can see it this year, it just doesn't seem like issues are getting resolved in the world. To go through that again next year, I'm not really looking forward to that, to be honest with you. But you know what, we'll deal with next year, and right now we'll deal with right now. And this is, of course, this week. So there's some pretty major challenges going on this week. There's some pretty big very positive aspects. So, with the earth signs as well. In fact, there's a grand trine in all the earth signs right now, which is very helpful to get things done, even with a Mercury retrograde happening. So, so that's good. We'll just we'll take our good points and celebrate them, and try not to blow up the challenges too terribly much. I think that's where we need to create our balance. Also, we are ending Virgo season this week. We are beginning Libra season. We are ending summer, thank goodness, as far as I'm concerned, over here, where it was literally 110 for 3 days straight out here. I know that some people it's way worse. That's why I don't live in those places. I can't deal with it. Last week, I was emotionally wrecked, and the heat was about 75% of that. Even though I live someplace hot, my office is someplace that's much cooler. I was not escaping it, no matter where I went. Even at my office, it was 100 degrees with 85% humidity. I'm telling you, it's lucky that I'm still sitting here right now doing these readings for you guys. Good news is it's a cold way down. So, we can not feel quite so aggravated all the time. And so we're ending summer and beginning fall. And on that day, the 22nd, That is when Libra, the sun moves into Libra. So if you didn't know, the cardinal signs begin on the equinox and solstice days. A little bit of astrological trivia for you. Okay, let's go ahead and take a swig of water and get cracking on our readings. And we're going to start with Jordan, our resident Aries. Still have Jupiter in retrograde in Aries. That is not going to change. I think it might change next month. I kind of have to look at that. Actually, you know what? No, those are retrogrades for next year. I don't want to waste time doing that, but I do believe that it's going to end next month. It is ending soon. I do know that. Focus continues to be on the home. God, every week I'm doing these readings for you, and I'm doing it with the astrology, and I've already done it with the horoscopes. I get this overwhelming feeling like I need to get out of this house. Like, seriously. And not to go to work. I mean, that would be okay. I mean, like, I just feel you need a break. You need a spa day. You need something, okay? And you deserve it too. You should definitely have it. That's all I'm going to say about that. Jupiter does move into opposition with Mercury, which is retrograde. Unfortunately, also moves into opposition with the sun, and Venus moves into that opposition at the end of the week too. So that's really kind of a struggle. And with all those planets focused on your career or your job, it's really feeling like you're being pulled back and forth between the two. And I think that that's why I feel so much that you need a spa day. You need to get away from all of those people, okay? Your husband and children, you love them, get out. The job, all those guys, they're great. Out of my face, right? And of course, it doesn't help that your husband is in both places. You never get a break from him. Not that he's horrible and you need a break from him. Everybody needs a break from their spouse every now and then. Like, you can't have that much togetherness and not just want to rip each other's faces off just so you don't have to look at their face anymore. I mean, it's really hard, okay? You need to take some time off. Now, if you can't take some time off, then what you need to do is establish an hour or so a day where you can literally just take an hour-long shower. Well, okay, you can't do that because there's a drought in California right now, but something that you can do to step aside that's not like I have a few minute break and then another few minute break. And no, you need a chunk of time. You need to be able to relax. I'm feeling all of these muscles in your body are so tense right now because you're just you're constantly going. And while you're an Aries and you can totally do that, you have the energy level to totally do that, and I admire it. And in some ways, I'm a little jealous of it. You can't go, I mean, you will literally just burn out if you don't do a little bit of self-care. So that is the big thing that I have for you coming up this week. And I don't even see it as a busy week. It's more like your normal everyday life where you're trying to toggle back and forth and take care of everything. And I have to say one more thing. When you do finally get, like, you drop the girls off at school and Taylor's gone and you do finally get an hour and you don't do anything, you feel so guilty about it. And honey, you got to stop feeling guilty about that. Okay. Everything will get done, but your time, meditation time, play on your phone, whatever it is, time when you're not hearing people talking to you and time when you're not doing something is just as valuable and important as anything else that you're doing. And there's this old school belief that self-care is selfishness, and especially with women, and that's just not true. We live in this day and age where we don't have to go down to the river to wash clothes and it take a week to do one load of laundry. We have machines to do that for us. We have a lot of things that make our lives way easier. Let's utilize them as much as possible and make sure you take that time for you. If you don't take care of you, you can't take care of everybody else. You've got to keep that in mind. So that's what I have for you, Jordan. Kudos to you. That's all I gotta say. I could not be you, not even at your age, to be honest with you. I love you. I do. Okay, I am moving on to Darcy. Oh, we got some good news. Yay! At least you do, anyways. Uranus is still squared with Saturn, of course. That's affecting the both of us right now, being that Saturn is in Aquarius. And so that's still there. You know what? I kind of feel at this particular point, we're just sort of like used to it by now. Like, it's really not that big of a deal because we've seen worse. So it's like, okay, whatever. Focus is on your day-to-day doings, which is your schedule, whatever your schedule looks like. I want to say that I really feel that you are wanting to put some really fun things into your schedule. Like, I just need to enjoy life right now, and I am totally all down for that. Okay. I hope that's your confirmation, so you can do it. Mm. Mm, 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 mm. Drink lots of water when you do. Totally down for that. Saturn's focus is very much on the mind, and this is actually kind of fun. That I started off with putting something fun in your schedule. Okay. Now, with that being said, and I find myself doing this, I think we all do, fixed signs, we kind of got to ration our energy. It's not like we got a full on supply that never ends, like, say, Aries and Gemini, right? We are like, okay, I have 24 hours in the day. I've got 8 good hours of movement. So I got to dedicate that wherever I can. And then usually it's taken up with work stuff. And then there's really no time for the fun stuff, which kind of sucks. So don't talk yourself out of it. Okay. You could spend, the whole weekend by yourself in bed sleeping, or you could go out and have some fun with your friends and get some extra Z's for the weekend, sleep in and all of that. But there's something to be said about that togetherness and being with the people that you love. It's really important. Um, Now here's the really good news, and I think this is going to be helpful towards that, among other things, and that is the beautiful grand trine between Uranus in your sign, Pluto in Capricorn, and Venus and the Sun in Virgo. And this is sort of going to mold and change over the next 2 weeks as the sun moves out, the moon moves in, the sun moves out, Venus moves through, Mercury comes in from backwards, right? And so this grand trine is going to continue for the next couple of weeks with all of these planets playing these different roles throughout, and it's really kind of magical. Venus's influence is very floral and very creative and very girly, and I kind of feel that there's a part of you that just kind of wants to feel that right now. Not to say that you're not girly or that you look like a truck, okay? Because I'm not saying that. But I am saying that we get into this routine where, we just kind of sort of, don't really care, right? And you start to feel it drags you down. You want to get all makeup on and looking good, and it's just it brings that element into the fun, which is awesome in my opinion. All of this is focused on career, by the way, in terms of the Sun and Venus and Mercury and where they are aspecting right now. And so I also see that creativity going into your career, maybe using or finding creative ways to kind of break up the monotony, when on the boring days, or just the monotony of the everyday thing that that you do all the time, kind of a thing. Because we all need to do that from time to time. And in all honesty, it's very important to do that. Pluto's focus is on the past, and I think that, of course, that influences things a lot when we're younger. Not saying that you're old. I think I'm older than you, so I think I can, say this, but maybe I'm not. I don't know. Um, I really feel that we spend a lot of time as we get older looking back on the past and going, man, that was fun. I wish I could be like that again. I am not stupid enough to believe that I can go full on 18 years old again. Okay. But there are certain elements of that that we can recreate in a healthy way, for lack of a better way of saying it, to bring that element back a little bit. And it's less, you're trying to act like you're young when you're not, and more like I'm just bringing an element of that time into my life now because it makes me feel good. It doesn't mean that, you have to full on go back to it or anything. Just, bring it in and play with it for a minute and have fun with it, and then, you know, see what happens, enjoy it, sleep it off so you can be fresh and ready to go for the next week. So, in all honesty, I really feel like this week is very different than the weeks previous have been. You've been through some changes, you've been through some ordeals, you've done a great job in navigating through all of that mess, by the way. You need to celebrate it. You need to do something for you because you absolutely deserve to have fun and you need to have fun. It's imperative that you have fun. I want you to message me afterwards and go, oh my God, that was so much fun. Okay. So that's what I have for you. And I'm going to move on to Connie. Okay. So we talked about next week, actually, or this week, last week, which would make it next week. I've got to be careful I don't confuse the heck out of myself here. What do we have going on here? Okay, the moon is actually coming into your sign at some point this week, which is really all you need, right? I know that your schedule is busy. I know what your schedule consists of as of when we talked about it. I will say I do see some changes. I see some old ones plucked out. I see some new ones put in. I don't see necessarily the schedule like you may be worried because there's so many, hold on. There's so many people that you've already seen on the list that I feel like you might be worried that all of a sudden they're all going to drop off and you have nothing. Actually, I'm seeing a few drop off being replaced by other appointments. And I feel like this is partially because these appointments are coming up and they're more important than going back and seeing somebody else. So I do see a few restructures there. I do not see the time you're working going down significantly. We're talking maybe one or two appointments, but not like the majority of them. So that's the first thing. The next thing is I kind of feel like it. I know that you're ending it last week, we should say, to kind of football game. And I just, in fact, by the time you see this, you have gone to the football game and it's the next day. And it's not that I don't see it going well. I just don't feel it goes quite the way you hoped it would, if that makes sense. And my concern is taking that into the week, because you are back at work with a pretty heavy schedule, and that kind of emotion is going to make it difficult to get through the week when you're carrying it with you the whole time. So I really feel it's important today, which would be Sunday, which is probably the day that you're watching this, um, to take that day to process, and as much as you can, so that you're not full on carrying it into the week, if that makes sense. And in terms of how the football game goes, it to me it's almost like you're not getting the closure you need from the last conversation you had in terms of your grandson. I feel is that has a lot to do with. Um, and in some cases, you're just dealing with the same stupidity that you have to deal with, in terms of other people. It's just it's kind of always there. Um, outside of that, I don't see anything else, which is good. So if you can take the time on Sunday to really just process through that, and then end the day on a high note, on a good note, whether it's the cookie place. The cookie place just like popped in my head. I don't think we've even talked about the cookie place for like a long time. The cookie place, or something. Treat yourself in some way, maybe Scooby too, and kind of choose a different emotion to sit in at the end of it, and see if that helps you to be able to just kind of work through, and then end the day on a productive note, to kind of help boost that energy into the rest of the week, because you're going to need that. As far as your appointments are concerned, there's two actually that seem to be standing out. One is somebody you've seen before that may actually be more profitable now than they were before, and one that's brand new. And these ones are, I don't want to use the word important, but there's a lot of potential there for business, if that makes sense. I think these two have the most potential. The one that you've seen before, I get a lady. I don't think she has a significant other. Actually, it's weird. It's almost like I see two ladies, but I mean, they're not significant others with each other. It's like she's got her friend or her sister or daughter or something. I don't know. Um, yeah, I see a lady. She doesn't have a ton of money. She's done her research, kind of sort of come back around, has questions. I feel like this lady, we may have even talked about this lady. I'm not sure if it's the same one or if there's another one that's very similar to that one. I kind of get the feeling this is going to happen multiple times until she finally settles down to make a decision, if that makes sense, which is, it's really annoying. I know. Um, the brand new one I feel is a couple, man and wife. Um, And I want to say that she is the one that makes all the decisions. He kind of lets her, but will butt in from time to time. It's kind of comical, actually. Um, I want to say that there are a few options for them. And it's not like a multi-million-dollar account, unfortunately, but it is a significant amount of money that they are dealing with. There might even be two different options for them to like split it in some way. I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't feel like this is going to be a process that's going to take a long time either. A few trips and then you're done, kind of a thing. So that's what I have for you, Connie. And I'm going to move on to Jenny. Hi, Jenny. Okay. The moon comes into Leo this week on Tuesday, moves into opposition with Pluto. That creates a little bit of a challenge. Focuses on finances for you. How weird is that, right? But I think these are your own personal finances. And as the moon comes in, influencing those finances, and even in some cases, your long-term financial goals. The moon moving into opposition with first Pluto and then Saturn may actually create a little bit of a challenge or help you identify when you start to go crazy in here. And then that emotional craziness starts to affect your decisions, as in whether you choose to do the right thing or put it off or whatever. I'm like talking about myself here. I feel more than you. However, this can be not just around managing your money, but like planning a vacation. I think planning a vacation has already come up for you before. It feels very similar, like it's come up with you before. So this is, I'm not talking yourself out of it. This is what that is all about, is not letting this fear that's going on in here talk you out of doing something that you need, your girls need, your business in some cases need, your clients need. Your clients need to not be able to bug you for a while. They need their time away from you, they just don't know it. Okay. You need to tell them. Your clients need it too, absolutely, right? It does. An opposition is a challenge. Okay, that does make things difficult. It doesn't make things impossible. Mercury is retrograde. That is a problem. However, the moon moves, as the moon is moving into your sign, it actually lines up favorably with that Mercury retrograde. So you get to kind of use that Mercury retrograde in your favor, which is nice. Don't talk about it, just do it. Just get it done, right? I mean, again, as I'm saying this, I really feel I'm talking to myself way more than you, because I feel like I am way more of a procrastinator than you are. But I'm also being shown that this is not about procrastination as much as it is about you constantly putting your responsibilities to your job, to your daughters, to this, to that, to everything before you. And this is what this is all about right now. it's Jenny time. I understand Leo was a while ago, but right now it's Jenny time. It's time for Jenny to do what Jenny needs to do for her, or wants to do for her, or wants to do for her and her family. That's okay too. I just keep feeling this one thing coming up that you're like, I someday I'm gonna do it. I know we're done. You just need to plan it and get the ball rolling. Like it's time to get that ball rolling. The other thing that I'm actually really picking up is it's so weird. It's like your week is like slammed and then dead, and then slammed and then dead, and then slammed. It's like a spiking, like an earthquake kind of a thing. But those slow days in between, like, it's like a perfect week for me. Actually, is like I can just work every other day and have every other day off, right? Um, I would love to do that. In any case, I feel like because things have been so hectic, it's really important to make the most of those days in between, those slower days. Go home early if you can, treat yourself to a 2-hour lunch if you can, things like that, just to kind of break up the monotony and let yourself just relax. I feel this tensing up a little bit too around here, especially the back of the neck. The back of my neck is like, oh my God, it hurts. It's probably from all that time in front of the computer looking at numbers all day long. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you love to do that because I hate to do it. Anyways, that is what I have for you, Jenny. And I'm moving on to Linda, my Virgo. We just talked on the phone like an hour ago. Okay, let's talk about Virgo. So we have the sun in Virgo most of the week, moves on to Libra this week. We have the autumnal equinox, which is also the day that the sun leaves Virgo and moves into Libra. We have Venus in Virgo right now, which adds an element of creativity to what you're doing, which I think is fantastic. Virgos are not often creative, even female Virgos, um, because Virgos are very analytical. They have a creative flair, but it's a little different, or used in different ways, I should say. I feel like Venus influencing your career right now is brilliant. I feel the feminine either needs to be more present, or the wording needs to be tweaked, if that makes sense. And I kind of get it. It's almost like, how feminism is now. It's women saying we're as good as men and we're being powerful, which makes us feel like men. Okay, we don't want to feel like men. We don't want to overlead. We don't want to make ourselves masculine. We're supposed to lead and be feminine. And that Venus coming in, it's just brilliant in terms of what you're trying to create right now. And it's going to bring a lot of creativity. um I'm not gonna lie, I see a couple of sleepless nights while your mind is buzzing with ideas and you have to get up and write it down. So I hear you laughing as you're hearing that, by the way. Um, all of these planets do move into opposition with Jupiter and Neptune. And so as we have the sun leaving, Mercury coming in, as that's taking place a little bit into next week, the moon is going to also join in all of that as well. It's going to feel kind of hectic, like, everybody just needs to get out of the room here for a minute. It's a little too stuffy. your whole, it's like your whole, all my dead people are right here, and I'm like, everybody out. Okay. It's kind of energetically how that feels in terms of your career. It's like everybody's coming at you at once. Make sure your boundaries are very strong and you take breaks in between talking to people so your brain's not going faster than your mouth, kind of a thing. That's really the challenge that's going to create, although there is a bit of elements of your normal needing to toggle back and forth between what's going on here and what's going on at work. I think that's going to be intensified just a little bit this week because I mean, you need that, right? The good news is, though, all these planets line up in a grand trine for like the next 2 or 3 weeks with Pluto and Uranus in the other 2 earth signs. When you have all the earth signs coming together, you have magic happening. I mean, think about it. The earth signs are the doers, they get stuff done. Mercury retrograde or not, that Taurus element is very fixed. There is a step-by-step process that is done. Capricorn is very much the same. You do not jump ahead. You start at the beginning and you keep on taking the steps until it's done. Virgo's energy is very much different. It's the one that's different from the other 2. Virgo is like all over the place, right? I'm working on the first steps, but I'm also working on the end too. And I'm also on this project over here. And I'm also on this project over here. And I'm not only a client, I'm also the president, right? It's just all this stuff going on, right? Use the energy of those 2 to slow yourself down a little bit and organize the process, or to help organize the process. This is the only way that you're going to get through doing all of this and taking care of yourself and your significant other at the same time. I mean, you really have to be as structured as possible. And this grand trine is really going to be helpful for that. So, yeah, of course, you're busy all week. I mean, you're always busy all week. And that's fine. We talked about self-care an hour ago. This is your reminder to make sure that that is in your schedule as well. Because we do not want a disruption in what we're doing. You got a really good flow going. You got a really good movement going. Let's not disrupt that. So that is what I have for you, my friend. And I am going to move on to, I am going to take a wee break. I'm going to take a little break and then I'll be back with Theresa. Okay, halfway done. And we are moving on to Theresa Demarco, my lovely Libra lady. And actually, the first thing that popped in my head was you barreling down the road in your truck with your sunglasses and your straw hat, blasting your music, keep on trucking, as they say, with a smile on your face. And that was the best part, honestly, was the beautiful smile on your face. I know that things are hard at times, but the fact that you can smile is a big deal. And so I'm very proud of you for that. Don't feel bad for it. I'm very proud of you for that. That Mercury retrograde is there. That being said, keep smiling because that Mercury retrograde is there. Still in Libra this week, moving on into Virgo this week, right as the sun moves into Libra. And we move from summer to fall because summer, okay? Oh my God. That last week that started Labor Day, I'm surprised I survived it. That's all I have to say about that. Glad I did. Surprised that I did, though. But yes, that Mercury retrograde is going to create a challenge. and the sun is going to create a challenge. And Venus is also about to move into Libra as well, which is, that creative element is always beautiful for Libras, and it being your ruling planet, it just adds that little bit of something extra, that just gets you in that creative mode. And I think that you being in that creative mode is really good because it allows your mind to focus on something other than all the stuff, the chaotic stuff that has been going on the last few months. And you know what? You deserve it. You deserve to, spoil yourself with your favorite coffee or, a little something sweet, something like that. It's been really rough for you. You need to take care of yourself, not overindulge to kill the pain, but take care of yourself. You're a Libra, you totally understand all about balance, right? Balance is important. So that, yes, them being in opposition with Jupiter is a challenge, but it's not the worst challenge in the world. Now, unfortunately, it does get a little bit bigger as all of these planets also move into a square with Mars, and this is going to create a T-square, and this is going to start right at the end of the week, unfortunately. And next week, it's going to get much bigger as the moon moves into your sign to join all those planets, as well as when it moves into Sagittarius and becomes a mutable grand cross. Even though you're not a mutable sign, the planets being that close to the cusp is really going to pull you into that. So yeah, keep smiling while you're driving down the road. Enjoy the moment, enjoy the fact that, as we go into the beginning of the week, it doesn't seem like it's that crazy. I mean, yes, you got a Mercury retrograde. Yes, people don't know what the hell they're doing half the time. This always happens with Mercury retrogrades, but it doesn't have to affect you if you don't let it. And that's the point. Save your energy for when things really are affecting you. And that way it doesn't feel like you're being dragged down quite so much, hopefully, if that makes any sense at all. Unfortunately, that is really the only thing that we have going on with Mercury and the planets coming into your sign, is they're lining up in negative ways. Now, as we move on into the end of the week and even into the beginning, or I'm sorry, the middle of next week, the planets are coming in and starting to line up favorably with other planets. So it is a little bit chaotic there for, probably the end of the week into the beginning of the week, planet wise, but then it smooths out and it's like smooth sailing, and you're back to there you are with your sunglasses and your hat, jamming to your tunes, smiling, which I love to see, by the way. I mean, out of all the people that I know, you deserve it. Also, let's talk about that creative mode there for a minute, because I almost feel like lately you've been feeling this urge to do something, whether it's get your hands in the dirt and garden, or make things or create things or something like that. And I think you're getting this urge for a reason. And the reason being that you just need something to do, right? Something to put your energy into that isn't work, that isn't all the other things that have been going on in the past couple of months or so. So taking that time to do that is actually really important. It's a great idea for you to be able to take your mind off of things. And I think that this week is also really favorable for that as well, because I kind of feel like you get lost in it as you're doing it, and it's that getting lost in it process as you complete it and you finish it. It just feels good. It's definitely a good way to sort of balance out your emotional energy right now. So that is what I have for you, my dear. And I'm going to move on to Regina. So Regina, you are my resident cusper right there on the cusp of Libra and Scorpio. Scorpio doesn't really have a lot of planet influence. In fact, it has no planet influences this week at all. So that's good. Libra does, because that retrograde Mercury is, of course, starting off in Libra. it will leave Libra this week as the sun moves in to take its place. So we also have fall beginning. We have all kinds of stuff going on this week that is very much happening in and out, right outside of Libra. We also have Venus coming into Libra here in a couple of weeks, which is really good too. But as it's lining up with these other planets, it's lining up with all of the ways that these planets are sort of communicating with each other in good and bad ways also. To me, that sort of feels like when you have something really good happen during a week of just absolute chaos and mess. And you can take that as a blessing that came in the middle of that mess and it didn't add to the mess. Or you could look at it as, why would this come now and everything, I can't even enjoy it because everything is a mess, right? In all honesty, how you view things is really important. And I kind of feel like Mercury's retrograde in Libra right now is sort of helping people to see that, because the Libras are not necessarily known for being communicators. In fact, it's quite the reverse. They don't like to rock the boat, so they tend to hold things in or not communicate them in the correct way. Scorpio, on the other hand, being a fixed sign, even though it's a very emotional water sign and you're on the cusp of an emotional planet of Libra to boot, or I'm sorry, an emotional sign, the emotional air sign, because of everything that's going on around you, I feel that there's a very heavy emotional element to it, if that makes sense. So that it almost feels like it's not just that you're emotionally reacting to what is going on with you, but I also feel like everything that's going on around you that's affecting other people, be they very close to you or even far away, is also affecting you, if that makes sense. So I feel like this is a really good week actually to take some time to just be emotional. I feel like, Scorpios are um the sign that is very secretive. They really keep things in. They don't like to share. They are emotional, but they sort of put up this mask that says, no, I'm not, kind of a thing. Um and it's kind of funny because I feel like most of the Scorpios that I know are like extremely they love being emotional, but yet they can't be emotional. It's just a very strange thing. I don't really quite know how to explain it. And you don't have to be emotional. I think that's why it's important sometimes to maybe schedule in a day where you just let that emotion out, just cry it out, by yourself. Um, we need that. I think we all need that sometimes. We all need to emotionally release, because things are crazy everywhere. And when we're dealing with that crazy personally, it amplifies the craziness all around us. And I needed to do that this last weekend. I just had to come home early from work and sit on the couch and put on something that made me cry so I could sob for 4 hours. Like, my energy was off the hook until I did that. And then everything just kind of smoothed down. Your body always knows what it needs. All you have to do is listen to what it's saying, and it will tell you. And you may not want to hear that. I don't always want to hear that either. But the less you resist it, the easier it is in the long run. And it makes it easier to get up and get back to whatever nonsense is going on next, kind of a thing. So that's one thing that I feel is popping up for you this week. The other thing is that I sort of feel like there's an issue at work with another person, if that makes sense. Like if the two of you don't get along, or the communication is not good. During a Mercury retrograde, these things, of course, are going to pop up a lot more. But I feel like you really just kind of hold it in when somebody says something that's mean to you. Rather than reacting, you tend to hold it in and not say anything at all. And the thing is that if you keep doing that, one of these days you're just gonna blow. And I'm right, because it's probably happened before. You're literally just gonna blow. And it's very scary and horrible when that happens. It's better to sit down with the person and find a way to communicate that before you get to that blow point, because that blow point is not going to be a communication that is helpful. Okay, it's going to cause a bigger problem. What you want to do, and it's hard and nobody ever wants to do it, is to sit down with the person and just say, I'm not a big fan of the tone that you use with me. And if there's something that I'm doing that's bothering you and causing that, could you let me know so that I can work on that? And I would appreciate if you worked on that. It's especially in a business aspect. I mean, I do this in my relationship, but especially in a business aspect, it just makes things so much easier. Now, that other person may not want to change anything and may not see that there's a problem, or even want to admit that there is a problem, or acknowledge that there is a problem. But it does give you the opportunity to have a voice, so you're not just holding all in either. So even if that person isn't going to fix the problem, they may think more about it when they're doing it, but it gives you an opportunity to be able to say, this is bothering me. And even that just makes things a lot easier. So that's what I have for you, Regina. I'm going to move on to Theresa Sheppard, my full-on Scorpio. No planets in Scorpio this week. That makes things much easier, especially with the Mercury retrograde going on. At least you don't have planets that are aspecting it. But I do see it causing some miscommunications and delays, specifically around flights. So make sure that you are double checking and triple checking. It's not that you're not paying attention. That's just good Mercury retrograde practice when you're traveling. Okay, double checking and triple checking, number one. Number two, Scorpio's focus is very much on the inner self, and the inner self is, well, it's just a lot of that stuff that we've stuffed away because we don't want to deal with it. And I feel like one thing that's annoying that may pop up is the fact that there's a lot of triggers around some of that stuff coming up, either with the delays or with other people. Sometimes people's personalities sort of trigger those issues that we have. And so with that being said, it's inconvenient. I really feel that you know how to manage your triggers, so it won't be a detriment necessarily. It's an inconvenience. Take a little extra time when you're by yourself to kind of, work through that. And then kind of move on from it as much as you can. There's one person I feel that triggers you a lot, and I will say he, and I will assume that you know who I'm talking about. Okay. um because of what he's got going on right now. And so I feel like stupid thing. Okay. This happens sometimes. It's not the end of the world. It's just Mercury retrograde. I feel like he will be coming up whether you're at home or not. And it'll kind of feel like your focus is sort of being toggled back and forth between work, and that's going to make things a little bit more intense too. I also see that happening more as the weeks progress. So not to say that it's taking up all of your time, but a lot more than normal, if that makes sense. And that may cause some irritations for sure. So any kind of meditating you can do, grounding and bubbling you can do, just some deep breathing exercises. Sometimes that's all it takes is a minute to just deep breathe and focus on that and that only, to let everything else go so you can focus on what you need to focus on. So the good news is I do see a couple of really beautiful places for you to just, have some time to kind of wander and look at things, which I kind of, even buy some things, which I feel is very relaxing to you. So that's good. So but that's what I have for you, and I am going to move on to Amanda. Nothing going on in Sagittarius this week in terms of planets, which is good because next week is a freaking doozy. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you right now that next week is a freaking doozy. Enjoy it while you have it this week. Actually, next week at the very end of the week, like the first of the month, October, is a doozy when the moon comes into Sagittarius and lines up in a mutable grand cross just for a day, but mutable grand crosses just cause all kinds of chaos all over the place. So let's enjoy this week. Focus is on self. Let's talk about self-care, because self-care, of course, is important, making sure that you are doing the proper amount of self-care. And I want to say that you've been slipping lately, just a little bit. You've been slipping. I feel like as the girls are back in school, you have more opportunities for self-care, but I kind of also feel like maybe work is infiltrating into that just a little bit, or other people are infiltrating that into that just a little bit, something along those lines. Self-care is very important. Okay, we know that self-care is very important. So that's just your reminder. I also kind of see a little bit of evaluation, like you're self-evaluating, you're reevaluating your business. I see some changes that are taking place currently right now. I'm not seeing changes as in you're changing everything. These are more like additions. And I kind of feel you're in this process where it's like you've got everything laid out on the table and you're trying to pick and choose what stays and what goes and makes room for something new, because of course you have new ideas, you always do, and they're really good ones too. Two things: don't go too crazy. Okay, you know how things can get, right? So just make sure that you are aware of how crazy you want to go. Okay, we're going to put it that way. The other thing is, I want to say that one of these ideas is something that you're like, oh my God, super duper duper excited about, but it almost feels like it doesn't fit into what you're doing. And that's okay. Put it to the side here, meditate on it, and it will come to you how to fit it in. But don't try and force it in there, okay? Because it's not going to work that way. And I'm literally seeing Amanda sitting at the desk, with the, why isn't this, you can avoid all of that. Just avoid all of that. That's more time for self-care when you avoid that. Think about that. And that's the smoother transition, or the smoother way of doing it. Mm. The other thing that's coming up for you this week, I feel, is literally. I fucking love you, dude. I'm sorry. I love you. I literally am seeing you outside with a glass of wine in a chair, staring at me, going, here's my self-care, bitch. Yeah, I see that too. That's good. Good on you. See, you're doing it before you have even seen the reading. That's awesome. I just got my confirmation. I can hear you laughing while you're, I mean, it's awesome. I freaking love you. Last thing that I have for this week is, because it's Mercury retrograde, there are going to be glitches. There are going to be websites that don't work. There are going to be computer issues. There are going to be phone glitches. I've already seen 1.5 million phone glitches. It's like my phone went full on retarded since Saturday. So just have a little extra patience. I know how hard that is. Trust me when I say I know how hard that is. But you need to have a little extra patience and more walking away from it to do something else and then coming back to it. So I love you. That's what I have for you. And I'm moving on to my friend Sheri. Hi, Sheri. Yeah, nothing happening in Sagittarius this week. Yay. Next week it's gonna be a doozy. We'll talk about that next week. Right at the end of the week, too. It's gonna be a doozy. So we'll talk about that next week, though. This week, focus is on Sheri. It's all on Sheri. And I can almost like feel like, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Honestly, it goes both ways. And I kind of feel like recently it's been feeling more like focus is all on Sheri in a not so good way and not in a good way, as in, let's all celebrate Sheri, right? It's not your birthday yet, so I don't know what you want. No. It's all on Sheri, as in Sheri does everything and the focus is all on what Sheri's doing wrong. And I can really see why you'd be pissed off about that. I can really see why you are resisting it like the plague. I can really see like why you're fighting tooth and nail, right? Through the whole entire thing, because it really is highly unfair. It's not, I mean, I can't even say that it's not that, you're not getting any help or anything. It's just you're the responsible person now. And if your mother is here, she's actually, no, she is here, okay? And she's like, welcome to real life. She's all basically wanting to tell you that whatever it looked like is not the way that it was at all. This is like our nightmare, okay? As a mother, as a wife, as a child, as a sister, um from the beginning, the two of us were out, actually the three of us were out there going, yep, we are woman, hear us roar, we're going to solve all the problems of the world. Well, guess what? Nobody is helping us solve ours. Okay. And without each other, we would have nothing. So thank God we have each other, right? I mean, I don't know any other way to say it. I want to say that the way to balance this out is to, instead of focusing on the fact that it's all on you because it's all your responsibility and all the attention is on you because Sheri is wrong, you need to counterbalance this for yourself in some way, in a healthy way, preferably. Okay. The balance that you have is not good for you. So I'm looking at options that will help you be able to look in that mirror in a more comfortable way, if that makes sense, because that's what it all comes down to for every single one of us. When we're having issues with everybody around us, we have to mirror that back at ourselves to figure out what the issue is with us, not them, but with us. Is that fair? No. But that's what the lesson is. And that's always been what the lesson is. And in some cases, we find out that they're right. And in some cases, we find out that they were full of shit, honestly. And sometimes it's a little bit of both, really. Um, Either way, nobody's handling it correctly. So, with that being said, you have to take control over this. And I'm chuckling to myself hearing the words of Sharon. You have to take control over your men. It's not about taking control over your men. You have to emotionally take control over this because you're the one that's emotionally balancing the whole household, whether you like it or not. And I didn't like it when I heard that either. You have complete control, and you can control whether everybody is happy or whether everybody is pissed off and mad about it all the time. And I know it's hard. And I know everything inside of you is like, screw that. I have enough to do. Thank you very much. But actually, it really does make things easier when you find that way that really works. And it does take a lot of time to find that way. You got to try different things and go with what works and throw out what doesn't, basically, even if you don't want to throw it out. So that's one thing. The other thing is I do see an altercation with one of your brothers, probably about miscommunications. Hello, Mercury retrograde. Um, I'm gonna say it's in your control to make it as big or as small as it needs to be. Does it need to be huge or does it not need to be huge? I kind of feel like you're the one that's going to make it go whichever way you want it to go, kind of a thing. Usually that really depends on how you feel in the moment. Um, you got to manage that if you're stressed out. That's all I'm saying. Because and the proof is that if you're not stressed out, usually it's more of an okay thing than it is when you are stressed out, I guess, if that makes sense. So that's what I have for you. And I'm moving on to Peg. We have no planets in Sagittarius this week. Let's really enjoy that. The moon coming in at the end of next week is really going to be a doozy for you guys. So let's enjoy not having anything while we can. Chaos is suing around us, and the usual Sagittarian way is to sit back, pop some corn, and enjoy the show kind of thing. So you might as well just go ahead and do that. Um, the other challenge though is because I do know that your husband is a Gemini, and Gemini is having some problems, and those problems are starting towards the end of this week and will be escalating next week and will escalate into this the moon coming into your sign right at the end of the week, which moves into opposition of Mars in Gemini and moves into a mutable grand cross for about a day. Grand crosses, especially mutable ones, is just a mess. Okay. Everything is just a mess. So this week, I kind of feel like you may be dealing a little bit with some just some aggravation from him, not necessarily towards you personally. It's more like he's a lot more aggravated or frustrated than normal. And I feel like that, I mean, it can be really annoying, or, you may just have to have a little bit more patience with it. And we are in a Mercury retrograde, so having a little bit more patience is a good idea anyways. Um, Mercury retrograde just kind of sort of screw everything up, and cause miscommunications and, unnecessary fights, kind of a thing. And I think that that's really what a big problem is with a lot of relationships, is it's just something small like that. One of them is aggravated. And if the other one isn't understanding of that aggravation but gets offended by it, then that aggravation gets directed right at you, and that's something that you want to avoid as much as possible. Be there for him, leave him alone if that's what he wants to do. Listen, but you don't have to listen constantly forever. You can put a time limit on it. I have an hour to let you vent your frustration, and then I have some work to do. And a lot of times with my husband, that really helps out a lot, because it gives him the opportunity to vent and let it go. It gives me the opportunity to eventually stop hearing about it. And everybody's happy, once the venting is complete. The other thing that I'm being shown for you is I do see delays. Again, Mercury retrograde, so that's not surprising, but I almost want to say that you're waiting for something to go through. I don't know what that is. That's just the wording they're giving. You're waiting for something to go through, and there's delays in it. And it's like I'm almost seeing you staring at the phone, waiting for them to call, almost kind of a thing. You gotta stop doing that. Obviously, it's energetically getting in the way and not going to make things go faster. And you're kind of driving yourself crazy through it. So I feel like that it's going on isolated with you, on top of him being a bag of nerves right now, that could create a much bigger problem than it really needs to be. So I think you're better at managing your energy. Make sure that you are, rather than relying on him to do it, whether he knows how to do it or not. So that's what I have for you, Peg. And the thing that you're waiting, it will go through. It will go through. There is just a little bit of a delay, a few days. So that's what I have for you. And I'm gonna move on to Mama Sheri. Hi, Mama Sheri. It's all about you this week. No planets in Sagittarius, which is good. Self-care is important. I feel though that this is less about self-care and more about reconstructing yourself, reinventing yourself in a way, if that makes sense. Not that you need to change at all. Um, but the way I visualize this is your wings coming out again, if that makes sense. And it's awesome. And you wanting to spread those wings. Reinventing your business, your schedule, the way you do things. I'm not saying that you're going from doing nothing, which you're not doing nothing, to it completely taking up your time either. I see a lot of things going into that schedule, self-care being one of those things that goes into that schedule. Time with your cats goes into that schedule. Of course, taking care of them is a big part of your schedule. But I kind of see that it's really become more important to give yourself space than it is to give other people space. And I think you might also be misinterpreting that as you're a chicken shit and you're letting your fear hermitize you. And that's not what's happening here. This is about managing your own energy, and you do that however way you feel you need to do that. And if that means giving yourself extra time, then good for you. I wish I could find some for myself, but you've earned it. Technically, you're retired. Technically, you're retired. So you have earned extra time. It's not because you're old and need it. It's because you have earned it. You've given your time to so many other people, to so many different jobs, to so many different clients. You got to give that time to you. I mean, after all of these years, you've earned that time being given to you. And your kitties too, of course. So that's one thing I see for you this week. The other thing is, in terms of that reinventing or restructuring, I do kind of see these ideas floating around in your head. You're just not exactly sure what to do with them or how to do it. And I'm also being told to tell you to stop being stubborn from you'll never guess who. To stop being stubborn and just ask. Okay. Share your idea with somebody that you know might be able to help you make it into something. Okay. What I'm being shown is that you keep talking yourself out of doing it because it's too much work, and that's not the case. Once you figure out how to do it, it'll be so easy, it's not even funny. Talk to somebody who can help you do that so that you can get that started. This idea won't go away for a reason. You need to do it. So that's my advice. So that's what I have for you, Mama Sheri, and I love you, Mama Sheri. That's what I have for everybody. Thanks for joining the membership and hanging out and getting your weekly reading every week. I honestly love to do this video every single week. It's one of the things that I really look forward to doing. So yay, thanks for being on the list. And I'm Melissa Bruce, the Heavy Metal Psychic. That is it for this week. I'll see you guys next week. It's really crazy next week. Enjoy this one. Okay. Have a good one, everybody.